The same-store sales came in under expectations at 3.2%, and they said weather was about 0.85% drag. You talked to them after the conference call. They blamed heavy precipitation, and there was record rainfall in a lot of markets. What I took away from that is, look, Home Depot is a great company. In the last 5 years, they've powered through weather. And so when you see a company now that's missing and they're starting to call out weather and rain, frankly, I think is probably the first that's been called out in quite some time. To me, that does seem to express some weakness in the underlying trends.
So is that an execution issue in your view? I mean, do you get concerned that maybe they're not executing as well as they might have once executed?
No, not at all. And one thing about Home Depot, give them credit. They're probably the best retailer in the country and one of the best operators in general. To me, it's very clear. It's just signs of the housing market are starting to slow. You've seen housing turnover decline year on year. The last segment was just talking about home price appreciation coming down. Home Depot likes to talk about there's a lot of home equity in homes today, but we're actually not seeing homeowners extract that equity. Home equity extractions were down in Q3 for the first time. So it's just a moderation of the housing market.
Was that an interest rate function there? And as Glenn Kilman just said, now that interest rates, foot off the brake, Powell says interest rates are coming down again, will this turn it around?
We'll be watching for it. I would say we've been looking at home equity extraction for a number of years because we think it's a key driver to big ticket remodel projects. And it's been flattish, surprisingly, for the last year and a half. Q3, probably related to rates, you did see that decline year on year. We'll see now if that changes with some of the Q4 and early 19 data.
So this is really a double whammy because you've got people not buying homes, at least that's what the data shows us, and we're seeing also people not doing the big renovation projects. And so that argument that people are staying in their homes and they might be spending a little bit more, that goes by the wayside.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, Home Depot fairly argues that housing turnover has been at an abnormally low level for quite some time. So their overall results have become a bit dislocated from that metric, although they certainly still would want housing turnover up. In terms of non-mover remodeling, it's still there. You know, they still posted same-store sales growth, but it seems like there was a moderation after what's been a very strong 5 years in recent history.
We get Lowe's tomorrow, is that right? So will that confirm or deny whether rain was the issue?
Yeah, so Lowe's will be interesting. Right? They're in the very early stages of what could be a long-term turnaround. Arguably, they've been donating a lot of share to Home Depot for the last several years. People will look at the same-store sales gap between Home Depot and Lowe's.
Donating share.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it,
right?
isn't
Yes,
it?
right.
That sounds so nice of them.
They get a tax
Yes, I don't know. Would they use that word? I don't know.
That's what we use in the analyst community.
It's nice.
Yes.
That's in the analyst community. Oh, you guys are very polite.
Euphemism for losing share. Home Depot's been losing share to Lowe's. But in terms of the other things, I mean, we have heard down the supply chain from Sherwin-Williams, Stanley Black & Decker about weakness. This is just the latest data points. Are you getting any color from Home Depot? Will you be looking for Lowe's, given that their quarter ends later and that they are seeing the trends later than those quarters in the past, that anything's improving?
Yeah, what we'll be looking again is this delta between their same-store sales. And if Lowe's has been able to close that gap, perhaps they weren't as negatively impacted by weather, or perhaps they're no longer donating as much share and they're starting to get back on their feet.
Is there a different geography in terms of their footprints?
Not meaningfully. I mean, the one's a little bit more biased to West Coast versus East Coast, but not in a meaningful fashion.